Owen's thumb rests over the wet crescent of Mourvèdre on the label, while he turns the bottle toward the 3 visiting buyers. "My newest creation," he says. His name is printed beneath the Bellweather crest on every bottle lined across the private tasting table. Owen Bell, Proprietor's Selection. He pours my blend as if the wine came to him in a dream, while I stand at his shoulder holding an ice bucket I never asked for. Elise Navarro studies the color against the candlelight. "And the provenance?" Owen's smile stays in place. Across the barrel room, Matteo looks up from the cellar desk. His hand goes to the black lab book with the swollen burgundy cover. He opens it. I know what Elise will see if he carries it over. 18 trials, 18 dates, 18 sets of purple initials. My name. But the question scraping through me has nothing to do with whether Owen will be caught. It is why my mother, seated beside him, cannot look at me. "Estate fruit," Owen says, giving himself half a second too long before continuing. "Predominantly the Western blocks." Elise keeps her nose near the rim of the glass. She is in her 40s, compact and watchful, with a charcoal suit that looks expensive without asking anyone to notice. I mean, the development provenance. Who built the blend? The other buyers glance up. Martin Keene, our Chicago distributor, stops buttering a piece of sourdough. Søren Val, who has spent most of dinner making small, precise notes, places his pen across his notebook. Owen gives a soft laugh. That's what I was describing. From the cellar desk comes the faint clap of the lab book closing, then opening again. Matteo has understood the question too. I should speak. My mouth is dry enough to make my tongue feel upholstered. Owen reaches behind him without turning. "Mara, would you bring the reserve Cabernet?" The 75. There is no 75 on the service cart. He knows it. I know it. The request is simply a hand placed between my shoulder blades, steering me out of the room. "The 75 is in the library," I say. "Yes, it's locked." Owen's fingers make a small turning motion. "Go." Elise watches this exchange over the top of her glass. Matteo comes toward us carrying the burgundy book against his apron. It is ugly from use. Its corners softened, its cover puckered where rinse water got under the cloth. A pale ring from a sample glass marks the front. For 11 months it has sat either on the lab counter or beneath Matteo's left hand at the cellar desk. Now it looks strangely formal. "Here are the bench records," he says. Owen intercepts him 2 steps from the table. "Perfect. Thank you." He opens the book just wide enough to glance at the first page. My purple wax pencil is tucked into the spine. Owen closes it. "I'll have Mara prepare a clean technical packet for everyone in the morning. These working books tend to include a lot of irrelevant cellar arithmetic. Sometimes that's the interesting part," Søren says. His tone is pleasant. Owen's is pleasanter. "And sometimes it's Matteo calculating how many breakfast burritos he can fit in the warming drawer." Matteo scratches the gray in his beard. 7, but it trips the breaker. Martin laughs. Søren smiles. Even Elise's mouth moves slightly. Owen puts the book on the sideboard behind him, beneath a stack of linen napkins. The room breathes again, but differently. I go for the reserve because if I stay, I will either speak too fast or throw the silver bucket through the glass door. Neither would give the truth the shape it needs. The library is cool and dim, built into the north side of the original stone winery. Owen had the iron gate installed after a wedding guest wandered in and opened a 1998 Cabernet because he thought the dust meant it was complimentary. I unlock it with the service key, crouch at the third bay, and find the bottle. My hands are steady until I see the vintage written in my father's blocky white script. He had marked those bottles before the stroke that killed him. I can still tell which labels he applied near the end of a shift because they tilt left. He used to say wine revealed the patience of the person making it and the vanity of the person selling it. Owen always called that one of Daniel's little sermons. I stand with my fingertips on the dusty glass and hear Owen through the wall, telling the buyers about the first time he tasted Mourvèdre in Bandol. He had told me that story 3 weeks ago. In his version, he disliked the wine. When I return, he has moved into the space beside Elise. My mother is describing Bellweather's new case storage capacity to Martin, her accounting voice crisp and bright. She has always sounded most confident when discussing things that can be counted. I place the old Cabernet in front of Owen. He looks at the label. This is the 68. You asked for the 75. I meant the 68. Lucky. His eyes meet mine then. The smile remains for the table, but behind it is a warning so familiar it almost feels like affection. He tastes the old wine, gives the guests a graceful story about drought and restraint, and carries the evening to its scheduled end. Owen is very good at this. He remembers that Martin's wife collects studio pottery and that Surin dislikes the word luxury. He asks Elise about a restaurant opening in Quebec without pretending to know the chef. By dessert, he has made each buyer feel that the winery was waiting specifically for them. That competence is part of what hurts. He did not steal my blend because he had no other way to impress them. He stole it because he believed he could carry it better than I could. The visitors leave with black gift bags and promises of a technical packet by 10. Martin shakes my hand and says, "Nice service tonight." Elise is last through the doors. She pauses beside me. "You're the production manager?" "Winemaker." A beat passes. "Then I'll look for your notes tomorrow." Owen steps between us to offer her his umbrella. Outside, the rain has softened to mist. Elise declines it and walks to the waiting car bareheaded. Matteo retrieves the lab book from beneath the napkins. Owen takes it from him. "I need this tonight." "Cellar records stay with the lots," Matteo says. "The lots aren't going anywhere." Neither is the book. Matteo's voice is mild. He has a talent for making refusal sound like information about gravity. My mother begins collecting coffee cups, though catering is still in the kitchen. Could we do this after everyone's had some sleep? Owen turns to me. Office. He walks out carrying nothing. Matteo waits until the office door closes behind him, then holds out the book. "You want it?" If I take it, he'll say I removed company records. He'll say it either way. The purple pencil has slipped loose. I press it back into the binding. Put it at the cellar desk, same place it always goes. Matteo studies me. "You sure?" "No. That's not what I asked. It's what I've got." His face folds into something close to a smile. 7 burritos, by the way. 8 is reckless. My laugh escapes before I can stop it. It sounds terrible in the empty tasting room, too sharp and too alive. Matteo gives my arm one brief squeeze and returns to the cellar. Owen's office used to belong to my grandfather. The old knotty pine walls remain, but Owen replaced the metal desk with a slab of walnut large enough to land a small aircraft. On one wall hangs a framed photograph of the family at Bellweather's 50th harvest. My father is laughing at someone outside the frame. I am 26 and squinting into the sun. Owen stands between us with a hand on each of our shoulders. My mother closes the door behind me, so she is attending. Owen pours himself water from a glass bottle and does not offer us any. "What happened out there?" "You put your name on my wine." "I put the Bell name on Bellweather wine. Your first and last name. It's the proprietor's selection. You called it your creation. I created the program that made it possible." I look at my mother. "Are you here to explain the grammar?" "Mara," she says quietly. Owen sits. "We have a 7-figure order on the table if these markets align. That order funds the storage build-out. The storage build-out gets finished before our lender inspects in December. That keeps 31 people working through winter." "Then it's fortunate you have a blend they want." "It's fortunate I know how to sell it." He says this without heat, which makes it harder to dismiss. Owen can be cruel, but he is rarely careless. He has already arranged the facts, so my anger looks small beside payroll. I pull one of the sample labels from my apron and lay it on his desk. The burgundy crescent has dried brown beneath his printed signature. "You approved labels without showing me. You approved technical compliance. I approve branding. The label claims authorship. The label claims ownership. My mother puts both palms on the back of a chair. Her nails are short and unpainted, as always. Could the technical packet identify Mara as winemaker? Owen's jaw moves once. The packet can list the production team. That isn't what she asked, I say. I know what she asked. He leans back and rubs the bridge of his nose. For one moment, he looks 62 instead of the durable, silver-haired man from the tasting room. Do either of you understand what those buyers came here to purchase? Consistency, confidence, a story they can repeat in 3 sentences. They did not fly across the continent to hear about volatile acidity and 18 attempts that didn't work. 17 attempts that taught us why the 18th did. They came to meet the person behind Bellweather. They did. His gaze hardens. My mother's grip changes on the chair. Daniel wouldn't have liked this. The room goes still. Owen looks at her, and the tiredness leaves his face. Daniel left you with debt, a half-renovated house, and a daughter halfway through an expensive certification. I took care of all 3. There it is, not shouted, not even sharpened, just removed from its velvet case and set on the desk between us. My mother looks down. After my father died, Owen paid the remaining $4,000 on my sensory certification. He found a contractor willing to finish our roof and allowed my mother to repay the cost through deductions so small they barely appeared on her checks. He never mentioned either favor in public, only in rooms like this, when gratitude needed to become a leash. I repaid the course, I say, at no interest. I thanked you for that too. Apparently, not enough. My mother flinches as if I said it. Owen turns the sample label face down. Have the technical packet on my desk by 8:30. Lead with Block 7 Cabernet, North Row Merlot, and the Estate Mourvedre. Keep the trial history concise. We present a unified development process. Who led it? We all contributed. Who led it? He stands. You're exhausted. I can answer while tired. Then answer this. Can you support the sale tomorrow, or do I need to put someone else in front of the buyers? There is a quick, ugly temptation to say he needs me. The final compliance declaration requires the licensed winemaker attached to the vintage. My name is still on that registration. I could lift it like a knife. But the declaration is not due tomorrow, and showing him the blade now would only teach him where to put his hand. I'll prepare accurate notes, I say. Prepare useful notes. Accuracy is useful. His smile returns, thinner than before. That sentence is why you need me. I pick up the stained label. And trial 18 is why you need me. My mother whispers my name. Owen says nothing. He watches me put the label into my apron, and I see the precise instant he stops treating my anger as something that will burn itself out. By 6 the next morning, fog has filled the lower vineyard, and the winery smells of wet concrete, yeast, and the coffee Matteo makes strong enough to remove varnish. I enter through the crush pad with my laptop under one arm. The black lab book is on the cellar desk, exactly where it belongs. A strip of blue painter's tape crosses its cover. Owen's office. Someone has written in black marker. Underneath, in smaller handwriting, Matteo has added, "Gravity disputes this." I peel off the tape and open to trial 1. My purple initials sit beside the date. Below them are Matteo's cellar additions, Celia's block code, the sulfur reading before the first bench blend. The record is plain, repetitive, almost homely. It is also true. I reach for the lab computer to pull the supporting analyses. My password fails. I try again, slower. Access denied. Behind me, the cellar door opens. Owen enters with my mother and a man from our outside IT company. He is carrying 3 white binders. "Mara," Owen says, as if surprised to find me working. "Good, we're reorganizing production responsibilities before the buyers return." He places the binders beside the burgundy book. On the first cover, beneath the Bellweather crest, is a new title, Harvest Logistics. My name is printed below it. I look at the binders, then at the man from IT. He is young enough to be uncomfortable in a way Owen has not yet trained out of him. "What's your name?" I ask. "Derek." "Derek, did you remove my access to lab records?" His eyes flick toward Owen. "I changed the permission groups." "That isn't what I asked." Owen rests one hand on the top binder. "Derek followed my instructions. My mother has brought her travel mug but forgotten to drink from it." Steam curls past her chin. "Your analytical access remains read-only," Owen continues. "Anything you need for logistics can be requested through Matteo or me. Matteo doesn't have administrator access. He will request it from me, so I request data from Matteo, who requests it from you, so you can decide whether I'm allowed to see the wine I'm legally responsible for." Derek becomes very interested in a cable beneath the desk. "This is temporary," my mother says, "just through the importer visit." "Then why are there 3 binders?" Owen opens the first one. Inside are harvest staffing charts, receiving schedules, and weigh tag procedures I wrote 4 years ago. He has printed them on heavy paper and added burgundy divider tabs. "Because temporary work still deserves organization," he says. Matteo comes in carrying 2 coffees. He sets one beside me and looks at the binders. "Pretty," he says. "Do they ferment?" "Matteo, I need the development book in my office." Owen says. "No, the single syllable lands without decoration." Owen keeps his voice calm. "Those records are company property. They're attached to active cellar lots. They stay at the cellar desk until the lots clear transfer. We're not transferring anything today. The reserve blend goes through membrane filtration at 2. Owen looks at me. "Was that scheduled?" "Since Monday." "Reschedule it." The mobile crew is already driving from Sonoma. If you send them away, the next opening is in 9 days. "We bottle in 6, Matteo adds. Owen's attention shifts between us. This is the first moment all morning when his face shows something real. He did not know about the filtration schedule because he has not been running production, but asking us makes that visible. He picks up the black book. Then it comes back, after filtration. Matteo takes his coffee off the desk. Gravity can negotiate. Owen walks away with the book under his arm. My mother waits until the door closes. "You didn't need to push him in front of Derek." "You mean I shouldn't have asked why he locked the winemaker out of the lab?" "I mean, you know how he gets when he thinks people are challenging him." "I wasn't challenging him. I was describing his morning." Matteo slides the coffee closer to me. "Drink before it becomes cellar temperature." Ruth looks at him. "Please don't encourage her." Coffee usually improves her judgment. Not the coffee. I know. His gentleness makes her angrier than an argument would. She tightens the lid on her untouched mug and follows Owen. Derek remains crouched by the cable. "Do you actually need something down there?" I ask. "No." "Good talk." He stands, dusting his hands on his pants. "For what it's worth, you can still see the archived chemistry reports. He only had me block edits and current batch folders." "For what it's worth, that's still removing my lab access." "I know." "You should invoice for the full hour." His mouth twitches. Then he shoulders his laptop bag and leaves through the crush pad. At 8:45, the buyers gather in the small conference room overlooking the fermentation hall. Owen has replaced the stained sample bottle with clean ones. The label still bears his name. My technical packet is on the table, but the first page is not mine. The title reads, Bellweather Reserve, a proprietor's vision. Below it is a photograph of Owen walking through Block 7 at sunset. The vines behind him are Merlot, not Cabernet. My notes begin on page 4. Someone has removed the paragraph explaining the 18 bench trials and changed blend developed by Mara Bell to blend developed under Owen Bell's direction. Elise notices me reading it. "Any corrections?" she asks. Owen answers before I do. "Only a formatting issue we caught this morning." I turn to page 6 where the lot composition is listed. Cabernet 62%, Merlot 27, Mourvèdre 6, Petit Verdot 5. The last number is wrong. "There's a technical error," I say. Owen's chair creaks. Søren picks up his pen. "Which one?" There is no Petit Verdot in the final blend. Owen glances at the page. There was in the development process. Through trial 6, it's not in the bottled wine. Martin frowns at his sample. The sheet says 5%. The sheet is wrong. Owen gives him an apologetic smile. An older composition table was carried forward. Mara caught it during final review. I caught it 30 seconds ago. A tiny silence follows. Elise turns one page back. Then what makes up the remaining 5%? The Cabernet is 67. She writes that down. From block 7? 59% from 7, 8% from block 3. 3 was the heat-damaged block, Owen says. It was the east edge of 3, I say. The upper rows held their acidity. We separated them at receiving. Elise looks from him to me. Who made that call? I did. Under my approval, Owen says. Søren studies the photograph on the cover. This is the North Merlot, yes? I look at the picture again. Owen's hand is resting on a vine, his expression thoughtful. Yes. It says Block 7 in the caption. Owen closes his packet. We appear to have rushed the copy. Martin chuckles in the hopeful way people do when they want an awkward moment to become charming. That's why you bring the winemaker. Elise does not laugh. It is. Owen carries the rest of the meeting without another factual mistake. He shifts from creation to market positioning, where his footing is firm. He knows freight costs, bottle weights, provincial markups, and the exact week each buyer needs inventory. By the end, Martin is circling case quantities. Søren asks about exclusivity for Denmark. Elise wants the technical packet corrected before discussing volume. We'll send it this afternoon, Owen says. She looks at me. Will you review it? Yes. Owen's hand settles on the table. The entire team will. After they leave for a vineyard tour with Celia, he shuts the conference room door. You embarrassed me. The blend sheet was wrong. You could have handed me a note. You could have handed me the packet before the meeting. I was trying to protect the sale. From accurate percentages? From your mood. I lean across the table and tap the photograph. That isn't block 7. He rips the cover page off each remaining packet. Slow, controlled movements. Happy? No. Then at least we've identified the limits of the exercise. He gathers the torn pages, drops them in the recycling bin, and leaves. At 2, the mobile filtration truck backs toward the cellar doors, its pump rattling against the concrete. The crew runs hoses to the reserve tank while Matteo checks gaskets, and I compare the pre-filtration sample against the retained Trial 18 bottle. Membrane filtration can flatten a wine if the pressure climbs or the temperature drops too far. Matteo calls it putting the wine through airport security. Everything arrives at the other end, but some of it has lost the will to live. The first filtered sample is clean but tight. I warm the glass between my palms. Give it 10 minutes, I say. Matteo checks the pressure gauge. Already backed it down. By how much? Enough to make their supervisor hate me. Across the cellar, Owen stands with Elise and Søren near the barrel racks. He has brought them down early from the vineyard. They watch the hoses pulse. Elise spots me at the lab bench. Is this the reserve? It is. Can we taste before and after? Owen says, the difference is more technical than enjoyable. Good, she says. I enjoy technical things. Matteo hides a smile behind his clipboard. I pour the unfiltered sample first, then the filtered one. Søren smells both without speaking. Elise tastes, waits, and returns to the second. This one is quieter, she says. For the moment, filtration strips some dissolved gas and changes how the aromatics present. It should reopen. Should? Wine punishes certainty. Owen folds his arms. Mara has always preferred caveats. Elise nods toward the glasses. Caveats are why I asked to see production. 10 minutes later, the filtered sample begins to show the dark cherry and dried herbs that made Trial 18 work. Elise finds it first. She does not announce the discovery. She simply smells again, makes a note, and asks me for the planned sulfur level at bottling. I answer. Owen listens. It is a small thing, a sample opening in a glass. It should not feel like getting part of my face back. The next morning, Mateo's schedule changes. He finds the printout pinned to the break room corkboard. His winter hours have been reduced from 40 to 24, beginning after bottling. Beneath the schedule is a posting for a cellar operations assistant, temporary and on call. Mateo reads it while eating oatmeal from a paper cup. What did he say? I ask. That the export order requires flexibility. You've worked every winter since 2009. Maybe I have become inflexible. This is because of the book. He scrapes the bottom of the cup. Probably also the burrito joke. I'm serious. So am I. It was an excellent joke. I take the schedule down. I'll talk to him. Mateo catches my wrist. His grip is light, but I stop. Don't trade something for me unless you know the price, he says. He can't cut you for keeping required records. He can say he cut me because there's less cellar work. He can hire someone temporary for bottling days and call it efficient. That doesn't make it true. No, makes it paperwork. He lets go and drops his spoon into the empty cup. Paperwork is truth wearing a cheap shirt. At lunch, I drive into town and sit in my car behind a Cooperage warehouse. I call a winemaker I know at Ridge Hollow. She answers on the second ring and sounds glad to hear from me until I say I'm looking. Then her voice becomes careful. We don't have anything at your level. I'd take assistant winemaker if the cellar is good. You'd be bored. Let me decide that. A forklift moves barrels behind the chain link fence. The warning beep repeats every few seconds. She exhales. Owen called last week about some shared bottling equipment. I wait. He mentioned you were having a hard time, personally. What does that mean? He didn't give details. He gave enough. Mara, I'm not getting in the middle of a family situation. It's a job inquiry. In this valley, those can be the same thing. She ends with an offer to meet for coffee sometime, which is what people offer when they want credit for kindness without the inconvenience of providing any. I call a smaller cooperative south of town. Their production director, Naomi Price, asks direct questions about volume, lab work, and harvest management. When I say Bellweather does 12,000 cases, she whistles. We do 4, she says. And some years, we pretend 5. I like honest math. Pay is honest, too, meaning low. I'd still like to talk. She agrees to meet the following week. It is not an offer, but it is a door that remains visible after I knock. When I return, my mother is waiting in the lab hallway. Owen heard you're calling other wineries. That was quick. People talk. Owen talks. He's willing to fix this. She leads me into the small sensory room. On the table is a 1-page document and a revised employment agreement. The new title is Production Manager. The salary is $12,000 higher. My benefits remain intact. A bonus is tied to the import shipment. The separate page is headed Development Acknowledgement. I read the first paragraph twice. It states that I conducted trials according to a blend concept created and directed by Owen. It calls my work technical execution. At the bottom are 2 signature lines, one for me, one for Mateo. He'll restore your access, my mother says, and Mateo's ours. In exchange for this, he says it clarifies everyone's role. It rewrites it. It gets your name into the technical materials. As an employee who followed his recipe, she sits across from me. You have spent years saying you wanted a management title. I wanted the work that belonged with it. You're getting the work. He took winemaking away this morning, temporarily. Stop saying that word like it makes things harmless. Her face tightens. I am trying to keep you from destroying your career over one label. He didn't only take the label. What do you want him to do? Stand in the tasting room and tell those buyers he lied? Yes. The answer comes so easily that it frightens both of us. My mother looks toward the narrow window in the door. Owen is not visible, but she lowers her voice anyway. He kept this place alive after your grandfather got sick. He took loans when the tasting room was empty. He sold his house in Napa and moved into that apartment over the old offices for 3 years. You think he doesn't love Bellweather because he loves being seen loving it? I think love doesn't make the lie true. He is trying to protect 31 jobs, and I'm one of the people he decided he could spend. She closes her eyes. I slide the acknowledgement back across the table. Tell him no. Mara, no title, no raise, no statement. What about Mateo? The question hits where she intends it to. I stand. Owen cut Mateo's hours. Owen can restore them. If you walk away from this, I can't keep standing between you. I look at her travel mug. A tiny brown line of dried coffee runs from the lid to the base. She has carried it for 2 days without ever seeming to drink. I didn't ask you to stand between us, I say. I asked you to stand somewhere. I leave the agreement unsigned. That evening, the corrected technical packet arrives in my inbox at 6:17. My access is read only, but my name appears on page 9, beneath a list of production staff. At 6:22, another message arrives from Owen. The reserve bottling has been moved forward 2 days. Final filtration verification, label approval, and the importer's provenance declaration are all due by Friday. At the bottom, he has added one sentence. If Mara is unable to support the schedule, alternate signatory arrangements will be made. I read the sentence 3 times, trying to decide whether Owen is bluffing or has found a retired winemaker willing to sign something without asking enough questions. Then I notice the attachment he forgot to remove from the message chain. Derek had sent him a list of users connected to the state production account. My name is highlighted. Beside it, Derek has written, "Current winemaker, of record for vintage, cannot reassign historical filings. New signatory can certify bottling operations only. Owen's threat is not empty. He can hire someone to stand beside the bottling line and sign the final sulfur analysis. What he cannot do is make that person responsible for decisions recorded months before they arrived. The provenance declaration asks for both." I print the email and the attachment, fold them once, and put them in the inner pocket of my work bag. At 7 the next morning, a white bottling truck is already parked beside the loading dock. The crew should not arrive until Thursday. I find Mateo inside the truck checking the rinser heads. Aluminum panels crowd the narrow aisle. Empty glass advances along the conveyor with a dry, insect-like clatter. "You heard?" I ask. "I heard at 5:48. Did Owen call?" "No." Lars from the bottling crew called to ask why our labels don't match the approval sheet. He hands me a bottle. The front label says, Owen Bell, Proprietor's Selection. The back label names Bellweather as producer and gives the usual government warning. My name appears nowhere. That is ugly but legal. The lot code is not. "They printed RB-18B, I say. Mateo nods. "Our tank is RB-18. What's B?" "According to the revised work order, second approved blend. There is no second approved blend. Maybe it is invisible." I climb out of the truck and head for the production office. Owen is there with Derek staring at 2 monitors. 3 white binders sit on the floor beside my old chair. "What is RB-18B? I ask. Owen looks at the bottle in my hand. "An internal designation." "For what?" "The final commercial version." The final commercial version is RB-18. This distinguishes it from the bench process. A lot code distinguishes physical wine, not your preferred story about it. Derek slides his laptop into his bag. "Stay," Owen tells him. Derek stays. I set the bottle on the desk. "If you change the code, the filtration certificate, barrel transfer logs, and lab analysis won't match. We can update the records. You can cross-reference the code. You cannot pretend it's a second lot." Owen swivels one monitor toward me. A new digital batch sheet fills the screen. The creation date is yesterday. The composition is correct now, but the approval section lists Owen as blend director and Mateo as seller executor. My name appears under logistics verification. "Sign here," Owen says. pointing to a blank line on the printed copy. No, it confirms traceability. It creates fake traceability. It creates readable traceability. The original notes look like the diary of a person trapped in a chemistry cabinet. Then attach them. We are not sending 18 pages of failed trials to buyers. They asked for provenance. They asked because you turned a routine question into a public struggle. Elise asked before I said a word. Owen glances at Derek as if hoping a neutral witness might change the past. Can the system preserve both lot codes? Derek asks. I look at him. He shrugs. That seems like the actual technical question. Yes, I say. Create RB-18B as a commercial alias and link it to RB-18. Don't replace the source record. Owen's mouth flattens. Do it. Derek sits again. It is the first thing Owen has yielded, and he makes it feel like a debt I have incurred. The bottling crew waits while we run dissolved oxygen tests and verify that the filtered wine has reopened. It has, mostly. Dark cherry first, then cedar, and the dry herbal note from the Mourvedre. I approve the sensory sample and refuse the authorship sheet. At noon, the conveyor starts. Bottles move through the filler, corker, capsule spinner, and labeler in a continuous mechanical rush. The first front label lands a 1/4 inch too low. Matteo stops the line, adjusts the guide, and runs another. Owen appears before the second bottle reaches the inspection light. Why are we stopped? Your name was crooked, Matteo says. Owen looks at him for a long second. Resume when it's corrected. Matteo adjusts the guide by less than a millimeter. Now his name is straight. We finish 600 cases by nightfall. I sign the bottling sanitation log, the sulfur verification, and the sensory release. On every form, I write RB-18/RB-18B, so the alias cannot float free from the actual lot. I leave the provenance declaration blank. Owen finds me washing purple wine stains from my hands at the lab sink. You approved the wine, he says. I approved it for bottling. The declaration confirms the same facts. No, it says the attached creation history is accurate. It is accurate. It says you directed the blend. I did. Tell me why trial 13 failed. He leans against the doorframe. We decided it was too bitter. What made it bitter? Too much extraction. From what? You're proving my point, Mara. These are technical details. Petit Verdot after cold stabilization. The tannin was manageable at bench temperature and wrong at cellar temperature. That's why I removed it. I remember. You put 5% of it in the packet. His eyes narrow. What do you want? A corrected label, corrected technical sheets, my authorship stated in front of the people you lied to, Matteo's hours restored. You're holding a shipment hostage over credit. The wine can ship. Your story can't. He straightens. If the declaration is not signed by 9 tomorrow, I will terminate you for refusing an assigned duty. My wet hands leave marks on the steel sink. You want me to sign a false account as my assigned duty? I want my employee to certify company records. I'll certify the real records. Then perhaps you should find a company whose records you respect. The sentence is quiet, almost regretful. I dry my hands and hang the towel over the rail. Perhaps I should. He moves aside to let me pass. At home, I eat crackers over the sink because anything more ambitious would require a decision. My work bag sits on the kitchen table with the folded IT attachment inside. The apartment is small enough that ignoring it takes effort. At 10, my mother knocks. She carries a grocery bag with soup, bread, and the revised employment agreement. The combination is so perfectly Ruth that I almost smile. You need to eat, she says. I had crackers. That's what people say before fainting in parking lots. She puts the soup in a pot without asking. I set the agreement face down beneath a placemat. He told you about tomorrow. He told me you refused to sign the shipping documents. I signed the shipping documents. You know what I mean. Yes, that's the problem. She stirs the soup. He's going to fire you. I know. And the cooperative job? An interview, lower salary if I get it. How much lower? I don't know yet. You have a mortgage. So does everyone Owen keeps using as an argument. The spoon strikes the pot harder than necessary. You think I don't understand what he's doing? I think you understand it in private. She turns off the burner. For several seconds, all I hear is the old refrigerator cycling on. When Daniel died, she says, I couldn't open the mail for 4 months. I have never heard this. He had invoices in the glove compartment, in his desk, inside a vineyard catalog. Owen sorted all of it. He sat at our table until 2 in the morning and made columns. He called the hospital. He negotiated with the contractor. He never once made me feel stupid. Until now. Her eyes shine, but her voice stays level. Until now. I pull out a chair. She sits and presses her palms together between her knees. Every time he says family, I hear those nights. I hear him telling me we'd keep the house. I know he uses it. I also know he did it. Both things sit there, refusing to cancel each other. I'm not asking you to hate him, I say. Good, because I don't. I don't either. That is the worst part, and saying it loosens something in my chest. She serves the soup. We eat at the small table with the unsigned agreement beneath the placemat. Halfway through, she says, the Hungarian barrels were coded to marketing development. I saw that during blending. Owen wanted them outside the regular oak budget. The invoices list the delivery date and barrel serial numbers. I set down my spoon. She looks at the soup. I'm only saying his new development sheet lists French oak exclusively. Trial 18 used 20% neutral Hungarian. I know. Do you still have the invoices? Accounting has them. That wasn't my question. My mother lifts her eyes. Yes, she leaves without taking the employment agreement. The next afternoon, Naomi Price meets me at a diner where the coffee tastes faintly of onions. She wears a cooperative winery sweatshirt with a bleach mark near the pocket and asks no questions about my family. Instead, she slides a production report across the table. What's wrong with this? She asks. The volatile acidity numbers climb gradually across 4 lots, but the cleaning logs remain identical. Someone is copying sanitation entries, I say, or cleaning properly with contaminated equipment. Which? I'd smell the drain hoses and culture the filler. Naomi smiles. Most applicants say, fire the cellar hand. Most applicants want to sound decisive. I want someone who can do lab work, manage 4 growers who all believe their fruit is the best fruit, and tell me when I'm wrong before it gets expensive. I can do 2 of those politely. Which 2? Depends how expensive. She laughs, then names a salary $14,000 below my current one. The cooperative cannot match my health plan. Harvest hours will be brutal, and the title is assistant winemaker. I need an answer by Monday, she says. I know that's fast. Fast is fashionable this week. When I return to Bellweather, Celia is waiting beside my car. She is still wearing her vineyard hat, and a line of pale dust cuts across her forehead. Owen asked me to sign revised block sheets, she says. What revisions? He wants the East Rows from Block 3 grouped with 7 under reserve selection. They were harvested 6 days apart. I mentioned that. What did he say? That the commercial lot code supersedes field distinctions. That sentence doesn't mean anything. I mentioned that too. She hands me photocopies of the original weigh tags. Each carries the date, block, row range, truck weight, and my purple initials where I ordered the East Rows separated. I keep copies after your uncle once tried to pay me for 12 tons that weighed 14. Did he fix it? He called it a clerical discrepancy, then fixed it. I take the sheets. You could get pulled into this. I am in it. Those are my crew's numbers. She taps the pages. Don't make me heroic. I have an ownership stake in being paid accurately. Understood. And Mara? Yes? Your selection saved that fruit. She walks back toward the vineyard before I can answer. At 4, Mateo shows me the new instruction taped above the cellar desk. All handwritten development records are to be transferred into the digital batch template by close of business Friday. Final approval, Owen Bell. The burgundy book is open beneath it. Matteo has copied nothing. Owen says refusal is insubordination, he tells me. He likes that word this week. He gave me until 5. What happens at 5? I become flexible. I look through the open pages. Trial 4, too much Petit Verdot. Trial 9, aromatics gone after 48 hours. Trial 13, bitter after stabilization. Trial 18, with the oak serial numbers, block codes, percentages, and our initials. Make the transfer, I say. Matteo looks disappointed. Exactly, I add. Every trial, every date, every failure. Attach the original scans and cross-reference the way tags, invoices, and filtration certificate. Put Owen in the approval field. A slow smile moves beneath his mustache. Readable traceability. He asks for it. Scanning takes 3 hours. Derek restores Matteo's upload permission after receiving the written instruction from Owen. Celia emails her block sheets. My mother adds the barrel invoices to the accounting folder without commentary. I attach the chemistry archives through my read-only access. At 8:12, Matteo submits 18 digital trial records for Owen's approval. At 8:14, the system emails copies to every user assigned to the reserve batch. Owen calls me into his office. The black lab book lies closed on his desk. My purple pencil is beside his right hand. "You think this is clever," he says. "I think it's complete." He pushes the provenance declaration toward me. Sign. I read the false sentence again. No. "Then clear out your office." My office has already been turned into a binder storage room, but I packed the 2 framed photographs, my spare boots, 3 wine keys, and the chipped mug Matteo gave me after our first harvest together. Owen watches from the doorway. When I lift my work bag, he says, "The buyers are returning tomorrow for a final tasting. You won't be needed." The next morning, an email from Bellweather arrives at 7:16. Due to sudden illness, Mara Bell will be unable to attend today's reserve presentation. At 7:22, a corrected calendar invitation follows from my mother's accounting address. Mara Bell winemaker added. Attached is the original production roster. Elise replies to everyone 3 minutes later. Please have the development book and all 18 trial records available at the tasting. I would like Mara to walk us through the provenance before we discuss volume. I reply with 1 sentence. I'll attend if Bellweather confirms I'm permitted to present the original records without alteration. Elise answers first. That is my request. Surin replies next. Agreed. Martin waits 11 minutes, then writes, Same here. Owen calls at 7:40. I let it ring until the last vibration, then answer. You are not authorized to speak for Bellweather, he says. Then tell them I can't present. You know what that does to the sale. I know what you did to the person they asked to hear from. A pause stretches between us. You may present technical information, he says. You may not discuss personnel matters. I have no interest in discussing my employment. You will refer to the development as a team process. I'll refer to everyone who did the work. Mara, Owen. He breathes out through his nose. 10 o'clock. My mother's car is in the winery lot when I arrive. She is sitting behind the wheel with both hands around her travel mug. This time she drinks from it. I park beside her. She gets out and examines my clothes. Black pants, clean boots, gray blouse, no Bellweather jacket. You look good, she says. You look terrified. I didn't say I felt good. We walk toward the tasting room together. Halfway there, she stops. He'll say I betrayed him. Probably. I changed a calendar invitation. You also attached the roster. The roster was accurate. Yes. She looks toward the office windows. I'm practicing. Accuracy? Standing somewhere. Inside, Matteo is setting 6 glasses at each place. There are no candles this time. Morning light comes through the tall windows and lies flat across the table, showing every fingerprint. The same bottles are lined on the sideboard, Owen's name straight on every label. The black lab book sits at my place. I put my hand on the burgundy cover. He gave you this. He told me to bring only trial 18. And you brought the book. Trial 18 is attached. He points to the spine. My purple pencil is tucked inside. Your hours? I ask. Still flexible. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry yet. It wastes time. Celia comes through the side door carrying a folder of vineyard sheets. I was told I had 15 minutes. By whom? Owen. Do you? She sets the folder beside the book. No. The 3 buyers arrive together. Elise greets me with a handshake that is neither warm nor cold. Søren nods toward the lab book. Martin looks as if he would prefer to discuss freight. Owen enters last, carrying corrected packets. I want to begin by clearing up an unfortunate misunderstanding, he says. Elise takes her seat. I would prefer to begin with the wine. Owen's smile tightens by a degree. Matteo pours Trial 18 from a bottle held back before the commercial run. Then he pours the finished RB-18B beside it. The room fills with the soft sounds of glasses turning on wood. Elise smells the retained Trial first. This is the final bench version? Yes, I say. It was held before membrane filtration. And the other? The bottled commercial lot, same wine, linked lot codes. Owen opens his packet. We corrected the internal designation so the traceability is fully documented. I look at the composition table. It is accurate. My name appears under production team, 2 lines below his. Søren tastes both wines. The bottled version has opened more since yesterday. It will keep gaining volume over the next few weeks, I say. You're confident? I'm confident enough to put my name on that prediction. His mouth bends slightly. Elise rests her fingertips on the lab book. May I? I turn it toward her. The cover creaks when she opens it. Matteo's practical handwriting begins at the top of the first page, Reserve Development. Beneath it is the date, the component lots, and Trial 1. My purple initials sit in the lower corner. Elise reads silently, then turns the page. Trial 2, Trial 3. By Trial 4, she stops. Petit Verdot at 12%. Too rigid, I say. It made the finish feel shorter than the actual tannin load. Owen leans forward. That was when we decided to reduce it. I look at him. I reduced it after the 48-hour sample. Elise finds the note. MB recommends 6%. Matteo says, I prepared the bench sample at Mara's direction. Owen's finger taps once against his packet. We move through each trial, not ceremonially, not quickly. Trial 5 kept the same structure and changed the oak component. Trial 6 lowered the Petit Verdot but left a metallic edge. Trial 7 introduced the North Row Merlot. Celia places the corresponding harvest sheet on the table, showing when I separated those rows at receiving. At Trial 9, Søren reads my note aloud. Fruit disappears after 48 hours. It smelled beautiful the first day, I say. Then it went hollow. Why? The components integrated at different speeds. The Merlot softened before the Cabernet opened, so there was a gap in the middle. Martin tastes the bottled wine again, searching for the gap. At Trial 11, the neutral Hungarian barrel appears. My mother slides the invoice from her accounting folder. The serial numbers match those in purple pencil. Owen turns toward her. Ruth. The buyer asked for provenance, she says. Her voice shakes on the first word and steadies on the last. Trial 13 takes the longest. Elise compares the initial tasting note with the post-stabilization entry. Acceptable tannin at 68 degrees. She reads, bitter at cellar temperature. The Petit Verdot changed after cold stabilization, I say. That is why the final blend contains none. Yes. She turns to the technical packet where the final composition now shows 67% Cabernet, 27% Merlot, and 6% Mourvèdre. And Block 3? Celia opens her field map. East edge, upper rows, 8% of the final Cabernet component. Harvested separately from Block 7 and 6 days later. Selected by? Mara. Owen's chair moves against the floor. Every production decision at Bellweather occurs within a program I oversee. That is what proprietorship means. I hired Mara. I approved the budget, the barrels, the labor, and the final release. No one disputes that she performed the bench work. The words are controlled, reasonable, and arranged to make authorship sound like a clerical category beneath ownership. Elise closes the packet. I am not asking who paid for the barrels, she says. I am asking who developed the wine. I just answered. No, you changed the question. Silence gathers around the table. Owen looks at Martin, but Martin studies his glass. Søren has his pen ready. I could fill the silence. I do not. Elise opens the book to trial 14. By then the notes narrow. The percentages change in smaller increments. Trial 15 adjusts the Cabernet sources. Trial 16 tests a higher Mourvèdre proportion and rejects it. Trial 17 comes close, but the neutral oak contribution is too low. Trial 18 carries 3 separate tasting entries across 5 days. My initials appear beside the formula. Matteo's appear beside the tank calculation. Celia's block codes match the weigh tags. The barrel serial numbers match Ruth's invoice. The filtration certificate matches RB-18, and Derek's digital link connects it to the commercial alias on the bottles. Elise reaches the last entry. Approved for transfer, she reads. Mara Bell, winemaker. Owen's name appears nowhere on that page. Søren sets down his pen. The development provenance is clear. Martin rubs the edge of his packet. We still have a labeling problem. Owen responds instantly. This is ground, he knows. The brand name and producer are accurate. The proprietor's designation is permissible in the United States. I'm not asking if it's permissible, Martin says. I'm asking what happens when Elise's staff receives technical materials naming Mara and bottles naming you as creator. The word lands harder in Martin's voice than it did in mine. Owen looks at the 600 cases stacked beyond the glass wall. We can revise the back label for the export shipment. The claim is on the front, Elise says. Replacing 600 cases of labels delays delivery. By how long? He calculates. I can see him doing it. Printer availability, label removal, labor, repacking, freight. 7 business days if the stock is available. We can absorb 7, Søren says. Martin nods reluctantly. Chicago can too. Owen folds his hands. And if I decline? Elise does not threaten him. She looks down at trial 18. Then I cannot present this wine to my accounts as an authentic producer story. I would reduce my initial volume to a test allocation. The difference would not destroy Bellweather. It would, however, leave the new case storage building half empty before the lender's inspection. Owen knows it. So do my mother and I. He turns to me. Will you sign the provenance declaration if the technical packet identifies you as lead winemaker? Developed by Mara Bell, I say, on the corrected label and in every market presentation. He glances at the buyers. Anything else? Matteo's winter hours restored. Matteo gives me a warning look. Owen sees it. That has nothing to do with provenance. No, I say. It has to do with you cutting his hours after he protected the records that proved it. Elise closes the black book. Our production agreement already requires record continuity. I would be more comfortable with Mr. Ruiz included in sign-off for this lot. Owen's face changes then. He understands the shape of the choice. He can preserve the order, the building, and most of his pride. He cannot preserve the story in which every useful thing at Bellweather originates with him. 40 hours, he says, through the winter production schedule. Matteo looks at the ceiling as if consulting it. Gravity accepts. Celia coughs into her hand. I sign the corrected declaration that afternoon. Owen signs beneath me as proprietor. Matteo signs the lot verification. The buyers initial the revised production conditions, authorship correction, replacement labels, direct technical sign-off from both the winemaker and cellar master until the shipment clears. The order remains large enough to finish the storage build-out. Owen negotiates the delivery window down from 7 business days to 5 and gets Martin to split the additional relabeling freight. Even cornered, he is good at his job. The new labels arrive on Tuesday. Developed by winemaker Mara Bell appears beneath the Bellweather crest in letters smaller than Owen's had been, but large enough to read without turning the bottle. I stay through relabeling and shipment. Then I accept Naomi's offer. On my last afternoon, Owen finds me beside the empty reserve bay. "You're taking a $14,000 cut," he says. "Ruth told you." She worries. So do I. "You'll be back to assistant winemaker." "Yes." He looks toward the tasting room. "You could have had production manager here." "Under your name." His mouth tightens. For once he does not mention my father, the course, the roof, or 31 jobs. "The blend is good," he says. "It is." He nods, accepting that I will not rescue him from the smallness of his sentence. My mother leaves Bellwether's accounting office 4 months later. She gives Owen 6 weeks' notice, trains her replacement, and labels every digital folder so clearly that even he cannot call her departure disloyal. Mateo remains through the next vintage. Bellwether keeps the required scans and certified production copy of the development record. On a cold morning in January, he comes to the cooperative carrying a familiar burgundy book beneath his jacket. "Owen released the original," he says, probably tired of it winning arguments. The pale sample ring is still on the cover. My purple wax pencil rests in the spine. I open past all 18 trials to the first blank page. Around me, the cooperative cellar smells of coffee, wet concrete, and fermenting wine. Naomi is arguing with a grower near the loading dock. A pump starts somewhere behind the tanks. I press the purple point to the paper. At the top of the page, I write my name. Below it, I write Trial 1.